Well, this chapter begins the 41st volume of One Piece, and as we're cruising right along over here, it started out on a good note and ended on an even better note.
389th chapter of One Piece. This is Response, it is called.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and fellow gear users of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and adventure-filled, action-packed, gear-second heavy tale of One Piece. Now, our last chapter, of course, saw us with the last couple really finishing off Volume 40, and we're moving here into Volume 41, moving right along. And honestly, I think it's like every time I get to that 10 milestone, you know, the 30, the 40, it's pretty cool. So, obviously, this is 41, but I don't think I made mention of it at Volume 40. And really, the events of the last two chapters really were Luffy, of course, gearing up and basically formulating and then putting into play this power, this gear second or second gear. I did hear, obviously, all the saw in all the comments and everything like that the issues over translation and whatnot. I had already obviously recorded the two reviews where we did talk about gearing up and the gear 2 and everything else. And personally, to me, it's a trivial thing that doesn't make any bit of difference either way. However, I do understand it, and when I talk about like a car or a transmission within a car, I would always say second gear anyway, and gear second is just kind of the backwards way of saying that. But again, doesn't really matter to me, so I'll just refer to it as second gear or gear second, depending on how it kind of flows. But I'll try to stay away from gear 2 so as to not irritate anybody who it just doesn't sound right to. So, but anyway, Luffy obviously showed that power, whipped Blueno's ass, and then the end of the volume was Luffy yelling across, you know, the drawbridge still hasn't been dropped, but yelling across into the Tower of Law or whatever that is, and just going, Robin! And that's where we left off. And that's right where we pick up over here. And actually, it's kind of funny because the beginning of it is it's Spandam's, and it's Spandam and somebody telling him, hey, you know, there's this guy with a straw hat, and he's out here yelling, you know. And he's like, what do you mean? Blueno was out there keeping guard. What could he have done, you know? And he doesn't realize Blueno's gotten his ass kicked. As he goes over to look through the window, Luffy's like, oh man, I'm really tired. And he pulls out some drumsticks of meat, you know? And he starts eating them. He's like, oh, I'm glad I brought some snacks, you know? And he kind of just like does like this burp sort of like yell deal that he's got going. And Spandam like shits himself and falls back, you know? Anyway, he calls for the members of CP9, you know, gather everybody, get all, you know, all hands on deck, you know, get CP9. And obviously at this point he realizes that Blueno has been knocked the fuck out because it was just, everything was done wonderfully in the last couple of chapters into this one as well. I think, you know, just the way that the fight went and how Blueno just got his clock cleaned. And man, just cannot wait to see more of, you know, second gear or gear second in action. And then obviously too, you know, I'm looking forward to getting some explanation onto how he actually does this, you know, because it's neat to see it, you know, and with the steam coming out and everything, and regardless of it being a fictional tale or not, you like to have some sort of explanation, and I'm sure that Oda would not leave us hanging on that one, or at least me. But as the chapter progresses, we wind up getting, you know, Franky has what I thought was a fairly nice speech to Nico Robin. And he's talking to her and he says, listen, you know, it's amazing that they've made it this far. You know, clearly these people care about you and are willing to lay their life on the line for you. Now, I get it that you originally made this deal to help to save them and you thought it was the right thing to do. But now, clearly, this douchebag, Spandam, is double-crossing you, and you're not going to get that same deal. And obviously, you couldn't really give the same deal anyway because, I mean, they're there attacking Enies Lobby now at this point. But the point being is he's like, you know what, all bets are off now, you know what I mean? There's no point in you just throwing away your life. He goes, but I can still see that there's something that's bothering you, you know? Are you just that afraid that your friends are going to die? And Robin's like silent the whole time, you know? And anyway, Franky winds up going and doing this thing where he starts puffing his ass up. His ass starts just getting bigger, you know? Like he's backed up and constipated or something, you know? Boy needs some Beano or some X-Lax or something. And anyway, and everybody's kind of freaking out. And then he's like, he goes, you know what? He calls Spandam over there and he says, you know what? I realize that, you know, that he basically says, you know, like, I'm gonna die anyway, but I realize, you know what, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take you jerks with me. I'm gonna take all of you with me. So I'm gonna blow up, you know, I'm charging up this bomb that I'm gonna blow up, and it's a 2-mile radius and everything else, right? And we all know he's bluffing, obviously, you know, but Spandam doesn't know that, so Spandam goes, he's running, oh yeah, you know, and all the guys, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. They're all running away. And what he winds up doing is going and actually wrapping his legs around Robin, and then going and using this coup de vent, I think is how you would pronounce it. I'll have to, my French-speaking subscribers will have to tell me, but I believe that I've been told that the P is silent, so it would be like coup de vent. But anyway, and I don't say it with the right accent anyway, but nonetheless, what it is he winds up basically just going and blowing his ass out. It's more or less like a stink bomb fart. But it winds up kind of pushing him and slamming him along with Robin, and actually creating a hole in the wall, you know, so he can, because what he says is, I'm gonna get you up to see the Straw Hat, so you can actually talk to Luffy now, right? And then he winds up, of course, breaking their chains in the process. They actually wind up almost going over the edge, but there was a safety fence, luckily, that wound up, you know, catching them, and they were able to pull back without falling. And then he goes and he mentions, you know, if I had just one more cola, I could do another one of those coup de vent and you know, fly over there. But don't worry about it, you're here now anyway, you know. So it's great because then you go in, and for me it was a very cool moment, right? Because Luffy has been trying to get to Robin for a while, you know. And the last time they met was, whatever, 50 chapters ago maybe, back in the mansion, 40 chapters, whatever it was a while, right? And he goes, and this is the first time that they've seen each other since then, you know. And Robin, of course, is just, you know, just being silent as the grave. And Luffy's just like, oh, hey, Robin, great, I'm glad I finally got to you, you know. It's kind of far, but don't worry about it. I'll try to stretch and fire myself over there. So he's, gum, and he goes to kind of, you know, gear up to do that. And I'm still going to say that even when he's not in his gear second mode, because for me, that's always been a... That's been a saying for a long time. Ever since I've been a kid, I've heard that, you know, gearing up. Obviously, in a car, when you go into the next gear, when you shift into the next gear, obviously you get more power. You know, there's more more power, and you can obviously go faster. So it's the same type of thing, you know. In life, I'm going to gear up. You know, I'm going to move faster. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to. So that's where I've always come up with that. But anyway, so he's about to fire himself over, and then all of a sudden, Robin says, "No, wait." And she goes and just completely gives him the cold shoulder again, which made my heart sink, you know. And she says, you know, can't you get it through your head? I don't want to see you. I don't want this. I don't want that. And then she ends it with, I just want to die. And I thought to myself, I said, what the hell is wrong with you? What do you mean you just want to die? I know she was suicidal after Alabasta or whatever, you know, and Luffy, of course, saving her. But, you know, I felt like she had turned a corner, you know, and during the course of, obviously, the last few arcs, I felt like even though she was kind of secretive and to herself with some things, I did feel like she was starting to become a permanent member of the crew, you know, and mentally start to come back, you know. So, clearly that's not the case, or at least she's still upset or scared of something else, and she's just playing it off. I don't know which one. I just know that, you know, it is very heartbreaking to wind up seeing this. You know, I just want to die. I don't know what the hell. And while this is all going on, mind you, and her and Luffy are having this brief conversation, Franky is going and taking out guards left and right that are coming up, you know. Eventually, it looks like one of the CP9 guys overtakes him. I think it might be Coup or whatever. It winds up kicking him, knocking him over. And then, you know, and then one of the other guys says to him, you know, oh, are you just mad because of the devil fruit? You know, and he says, no, I like it. And we still don't know what Coup and Khalifa's powers are from the devil fruits. But what winds up happening is we do get what I thought was a fairly nice shot over here. And this might actually be something that before it's all said and done with this arc, I may have to go and draw, you know. And as Franky gets overtaken and everything like that, Spandam goes and says, you know, hey, let's just see how this turns out. You know, this is so much fun because they're fighting amongst themselves. You know, she's not agreeing to come back with him yet, and he's obviously fought through thousands and thousands of people to get here, right? But at the end of it, you get, and right before that, you wind up seeing this this thing where and it's the CP9 guys that have been summoned that are basically doing their moonwalk stuff outside to get to so they can all stand here for this stoic double-page spread, you know. And they talk about how Blueno got taken down so easily. Spandam even made mention of that earlier in the chapter, and his power level was over 800 and this and that. But to tell you the truth, a lot of that I throw out the window when it comes to something like actually fighting for someone that you care about, because you really can. You can you can become a lot stronger than you would ever think. Believe me on that. But anyway, and he goes, you know, and then I think it's Lucci. Yeah, it's Lucci here. He goes and he says, yeah, I guess running a bar for 5 years will dull anyone's skills. Still, how could he lose? And then we get him. Well, he did. You know, so that's how the chapter ends off, and we know that obviously there's going to be some things coming up as far as some one-on-one fights, and I'm kind of wondering who's going to face off with that, and who'd you like to see best. That's actually my chapter question is you know, who do you think is going to wind up facing off against who? You know, I'm pretty dead set on figuring here that Luffy is going to wind up having to face Rob Lucci, but in the interim, who else is going to go? You know, I'm thinking that Coup would be maybe a good match for Sanji, and I'm thinking that what the hell's the other guy's name? The dude that's always fighting with Coup about this power level being slightly low. I'm thinking he might wind up going against Zoro. Anyway, I'm not really sure how that's all going to play out. The chapter does wind up ending off there, and as I said, it was fairly depressing because as Luffy's going and talking about things and trying to talk to Robin, and you see this shot of everybody fighting. You know, I mean, all the Straw Hats. You see, you know, Zoro and Sanji, and then they're all embroiled in battle, obviously, where they're at, and they're all fighting for this one person, for Robin, right? And she's still just so pig-headed and resistant to it that you have to. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt here, but at this point, she's starting to get under my fucking skin because, you know, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink, you know, and that's just an old-time saying. But all that means is that, hey, listen, we can come and offer our help to you and be here for you, but if you're not going to be willing to accept it, we cannot help you. There's nothing we can do. If you're not going to come out with why it is that you're being like this and why all of a sudden you want to die and everything else, we can't help you, you know. Before the excuse was you just played it off cold-hearted, but we don't want to finding out, of course, that she had been given this deal, you know, and to avoid this Buster call, you know, that she would turn herself in, and of course the Straw Hats would be let go and let to go free. And you know, but now all that's been taken care of and sorted out, and they're still going to come anyway. Why are you still pushing them away, you know? So I guess that's a part that kind of frustrates me a little bit. But I'm sure it'll be revealed, hopefully, here in the next 5, 10, 20 chapters. I don't know. So, but anyway, leave your answer to my question in the comments down below. You know, of course, you know, who'd you like to see face off against each other, the fights you'd like to see. And feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Subscribe to my other channels. You must. Also, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.